Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about DevOps. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, can you talk about DevOps and how hard is it to get into? Should you be a junior programmer first for a year and then go into DevOps, or can you just go in knowing the basics? Well, you can of course start by just quote unquote knowing the basics, but I will go and stick my neck out a little bit here, and I will say I don't think that that's a good idea for everybody. Uh, if you are fortunate enough to if you find a company where they have like senior level experiences and you get to work with more experienced ops and like DevOps engineers or whoever you're working with, then yes, then you can probably go in kind of immediately if you even get the position. But on average, I don't think that a junior anything is going to find it easy to be an ops person or to get an ops job or anything like that, unless you're doing the basics of the basics, unless you're like a system administrator that does very simple things. The reason is because I don't. This is just me talking now. I can't imagine. I can't think of, at the very least, any role within the software delivery cycle that requires more experience in general than ops. What I mean by that is basically that as an ops person, depending on the company, because that's kind of the thing. In one company, your role might be to just sit and consume of already made infrastructure or something where like everything is already standardized, and all you really do is to watch the, I don't know, the metrics or the logs or something like that, and do very basic things. But in another company, you might have to know a lot of stuff, because that's the thing. If you think front end is chaotic, guys, you should try out operations. Like, try to have a long career in ops, because the infrastructure of a company, like the way that they run their systems, it's gonna be different for every single company, and they have like the needs they have for their computing power and like on-prem solutions versus cloud, and like, or they what type of have they standardized their tooling, like what like there's so many levels of complexity. They're different, like different networks, different routing solutions, different DNS. Like, it's a gigantic area to work in ops potentially. And that's why I personally believe that operations is one of those roles where you can get into it, and it might be a very, especially in the beginning, it might be a very rough ride. But to get good at ops, you really need to be at least at a mid-level, or ideally a senior level in terms of IT experience, before you're gonna have any type of useful skills in the area. Or you need to get trained by people who are already at that level. It's simply too complicated, in my opinion, for a junior to be good at ops. As I said, unless you do the basics of the basics, and that's not what the average company is looking for. When people hire DevOps engineers and so forth, they're usually looking for someone who knows how to take care of business, and you don't usually need all that many DevOps engineers or ops people in a company. But the ones that you do need, they need to be good, because the infrastructure of your company is, I mean, if that doesn't work, it doesn't matter what the software developers are doing. Your system will not do anything if the ops team is bad, or if the system is flaky or whatever, right? So, in my personal experience, I think that you can try as a junior person, or like someone who just knows the basic. I don't even want to ask you what you think the basics are of DevOps, because it's probably not what you saw on Free Code Camp, or whatever courses you're taking about, oh, this is like become a DevOps engineer, because they don't know shit. Well, they know the tools, but they don't know, or rather they're not showing you all the other levels of complexities there are to doing the thing that they're saying that they're like teaching you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch the tutorials. They're great. They're going to teach you all about everything from, I don't know, Docker, Kubernetes, and GitLab, and maybe a little bit of Git, or maybe a little bit of version control and stuff like that. Or they're going to show you some like the basic, like some products that are like the basics of the basics, and that is like the fucking tip of the iceberg. It's hilarious to me how you can even use the term, oh, this is a DevOps engineering course and it's going to teach you, like, if your disclaimer is not like literally the first thing you're saying is this is just like a fraction of all the stuff that you need to know, then you're lying to the people, usually, in my opinion, about preparing them for a DevOps role, because ops is so enormous. It's gigantic. So what I want you to take away from this is that, in my personal experience, you can, if you are extraordinarily lucky, I would say it's about, if you're going to go in and become a DevOps engineer without any experience, or like you just knowing quote unquote the basics, and I assume that you by the basics you mean going and taking some boot camps or something like that, because I mean, to me, the basics of being a DevOps engineer is basically you being a cloud architect with a serious background in software development and knowing multiple tools. Like that's like the basics, because the range of things that you potentially might have to know in order to even be able to do the job of a DevOps engineer is already at the senior level. It's already, it's to put it into to give you an analogy. If being a junior software developer is like being a doctor, like a fresh out of school doctor, a DevOps engineer is potentially the same thing as being a surgeon. It's simply something where you can't start out being a surgeon. You have to be something before. So this thing, being a junior programmer before you become a DevOps engineer, it might be the best thing for you, because honest to God, a junior software developer with a year of software development experience, assuming of course they have an interest in DevOps and kind of learn like the tools and the different products that are in the sphere of DevOps right now, is going to be 1,000 times more useful to every single company than someone who just went directly into DevOps, because it simply is potentially so complicated that it's really not a junior level role, at least not in my opinion. Have a great day.